Now there's 7 traits of leadership leadership influence. And so to lead with impact, embody these values. So these are some additional values, and he touched on, these in the book. I'm going to wrap around back to the 7 characters that he referred to, but these are some strong traits. And just like, Carrie's talking about, there's these little things that you're going to pick up, because this is, this is only the second one of 21. So we've got several other traits to move along, or laws to move along. But at the same time, it's so important that we understand some of these deeper intentions. Like, what is it that we saw on this man? Or what is it that you saw on somebody and you said, I can follow this person, right? Integrity is huge. They do what they say what they mean, they trust in the foundation of lasting influence. So integrity is big. Now, this isn't something that we pick up right away. It may be something that we suspect, but it's the over time thing that really confirms integrity. Authenticity is another one. Be real, be honest, be you. Don't try to be somebody else. You need to be the best you that you can be. You're going to pick up different traits and different ways from people, and then you're going to personalize it for it to be you. But people follow connection, not perfection. And that's really, really key. I will tell you, one of the things I get, Terry Miller, I saw her on here. I get so many compliments when Terry Miller does the ladies call. And not to say anything less about anybody else, but she just always sticks out. People are always saying, "Oh my gosh, we get so much business when Terry does the leadership call." You know why they say it? Because they say she's authentic. She feels real. She feels like it's personal to her. And that is incredibly powerful. So people like authenticity. They don't like the polished vibe. So never feel like you got to become this great salesman to be a great leader. We just need to be authentic with that same passion. Carrie, you have anything you want to jump in yet?
Well, I just started to say, being authentic. Listen, guys, I say this a lot too, is that you were made you. You are a once in an all history event. Like nothing, no one will ever be you. So why do you want to be someone else? I mean, honestly, and the more you work on being the best version of yourself, that's what people love. Like she just said, the authenticity. Because when people try to be someone else, it shows, and it's usually like, oh, that doesn't feel right. No. And I've heard a lot about imposter syndrome over the last couple of years. And that's when, oh, well, somebody else is doing it and I'd be an imposter. No. No, the truth is you've been called to do it, and so you have to do it. And that's the reality of when we start to grow as leaders, that we don't look and go, well, Terry does it better, Carrie does it better, Diane does it better. Like we don't start comparing and going, but I'm not them. No, you be you and you show up, because there's going to be people drawn and attracted to you and the way you authentically deliver the message as well. And that's a beautiful thing, because I think sometimes we get in our own way and we don't realize there's room for all of us. It's not one or the other, it's all of us. And together, we're always going to be better. But when we show up as ourselves, that's what the world needs, not the fact that we think we have to be someone else.
So good. And that's why, like, okay, John Maxwell has, I don't even know. I mean, so many books on leadership, right? And so if somebody said, I don't need to write a book on leadership because there's so many books on leadership, that is a lie. Because if you've been called to write a book on leadership, it's the way you present that book. It's what God's put inside of you to get out of you so that you make an impact in other people's lives. So it's another form of the way that people can grow. So it just always know, just I love that you said that you're not copying anybody, you're not becoming a duplicate, you're becoming, who you are created to be, with all these other ways that you've learned and your experience and all the additional things that will continue with to make you exactly who you are, so you can deliver for exactly who you need to deliver for. So let's look at these two. Clarity of vision. Know where you're going and why. People want to be a part of a mission, not a movement. That's why we keep talking about, and Carrie keeps drilling it. Like, this is her, this is her go-to. This is what she's going to make sure that you get in you, is where are you going? What do you want? What's your why? Like, that vision is so important, because people want to know who they're following. They want to know where you're going. And so if you're saying, hey, come along with my influence, right? Come along. And you're influencing people, they need to know exactly where you're going. That's why we're going to always stress it's important that you know where you're going and that you're sharing it as you're delivering your message on what your plans are to accomplish when it comes to your this opportunity and when it comes to your success, because there's a big difference in somebody saying, yeah, I'm playing with this, I'm enjoying just sharing it with family and friends, or hey, I see this as incredible. I'm planning on building an empire. I'm growing an army. I'm gonna make XYZ. And because others have done it, I know I can do it too. And I want you to come along. So it all goes back to the way that you say it and the way that you put it. But know where you're going and why people want to be a part of a mission and not a movement. So that's so important. And then consistency, huge. Y'all have heard us say this before, but this is a reminder. This impacts your influence. You have to be consistent. We have people that reach up to us, meaning that they're leapfrogging over, which they have every right to do so, because that's why they have a team of people that they'll say, they're not really in it. They're not showing up, and people want to see you show up. People want to see you connected. Again, this is only if you desire to carry the trait of leadership, to influence people so that people see you as a leader. So can be steady, and make sure that trust grows when people can rely on who you are daily. That's so important that they can rely on you. And so, consistency is key. We've said it 1,000 times, and we'll continue to beat that drum. But it doesn't matter if we're talking about the consistency in talking to people so that your business grows, or the consistency in follow up so that people feel known, heard, and valued, or if it's the consistency that you're leading, that you're showing up as their leader, that you're finding ways to serve them, help them, and help create the environment, that personal environment, for them to get success as a result of what you are bringing to the table and value. Carrie?
Yeah. Well, I could camp out on this one for a long time, as you know, because I
Sure.
do believe it's the clarity of vision and consistency. Those probably are the two biggest things that I can tell a brand new person, especially when wanting to grow, is you've got to know what you want. You've got to know that the dreams inside, and then you've got to know what the dreams of others are. Because in leadership, guys, we're not bosses. We don't have anybody telling us you're going to be fired if you don't show up. But the truth is that the hopes and dreams inside of you, well, they can fire you. They can be like, man, what are you doing? We're not getting one step closer. You can't do something every now and then or when it's convenient or comfortable. You have to be consistent in the small things because they lead to the big ones. And, I think about our team Zooms on Sunday night. Do you know, since I started this in February 2023, when it was just me, myself, and I started having a team call. No one has ever asked me, or is there going to be a carrier? Do I need to remind you you're doing a team call on Sunday night at 8, right? Consistency. I'm going to show up. You can count on it. And I tell people there's always a team call, so put it on your calendar. I send it out to everybody when they get started because that's the one place we want them to connect. We want them to see the community, hear from you, hear from others. Like that's the place, right? And so you've got to be that leader because I promise you, when you have got people started, they're scrolling through to see your name. They're looking for you because they'll call me and go, my leader's never on the call. Like, right? I'm sure everybody hears that. You've probably heard it too. So we have to be consistent in our activities and our actions and show up. Now that knowing what you want, it's very important. And I think about when I sat down to look at this, I remember saying to Rick when I saw a manager and I go, that's it, that's all we do. Doesn't everybody love 4 people? Right? Like I'm just sitting here going, wow. And I've never seen a compensation plan like this. I turned to my husband and said, we're about to earn millions of dollars. Right? So think about it. I saw the simplicity of the system, the power of the compensation, and manager. And so we started saying we're manager making machines. Well, you know what? If you read my book, in the back of there it says, I know that I was put on earth to create a minimum of 25 families earning $1 million a year. Well, guess what manager making machines turn into? It turned me into a millionaire making machine. That's my new motto. So you have to see it though, right? I'm like day one, I was like, we create managers and managers turn into leaders. Like leaders began to rise up through that. And so you have to have that clarity and you have to have that vision. So therefore, whenever you start speaking, now others can find their way in.
Mhm.
So when I have conversations, people go, can I be one of those 25? You better believe. And I go, we're not limited to 25. There was a minimum of 25 is what it said, right? And so, but people now they can see their way into your vision when you know why you're doing it and you know where you're going. And now others will run with you. They'll follow, just like Diane said. We all followed a man that had a vision. He knew where he was going and he invited us to be a part of it. Simple enough.
Mhm. So good. And so, know the vision. Know, maybe it's the team vision. Know your vision. Know the company and corporate vision. Those are all things that we refer to because, again, people attract to a vision. And that, that is so incredibly powerful. So, really good to put a focus on. Okay. Now I'm servant leadership. All right. This is to elevate others. Intentionally adding value to people. This is so, so important. So great leaders don't seek followers, they create leaders, just like Carrie was just talking about. So as a servant leader, always willing to show up, always willing to be there, doing what it takes, getting in the car, getting on the call, getting on the Zoom, being uncomfortable, being inconvenienced. This is all part of servant leadership. And as a leader, it's called for. I mean, being a leader is not comfortable or convenient, right? That's just part of it. That's why we always say that about success. Well, success is leadership. So being a leader is not going to be comfortable and it's not going to be convenient. Danny and I, we literally have to, like we were talking about when we were coming back from one of our trips that we're planning, the one that is actually in Mexico. When are we coming back? Well, it ends on Sunday. If we try to come back Sunday night, then we wouldn't be available for the leadership call. So that means we need to stay. I mean, of course, that's not real uncomfortable staying in Mexico for another night, but yet we're being inconvenienced by not leaving when everybody else is leaving. And, because we're committed to make sure that we are staying focused on that. So servant leadership. So elevate others. And look for ways to do that. Look for ways to congratulate them, encourage them, and of course, speak life into them. And then courage. Influence requires boldness. There is a big difference in somebody that isn't confident in their words, isn't strong in their voice. And so that's something that if you feel like you're a little timid, if you feel like you may be a little bit shy, then really speak this into your life, just like we've always been taught we've been talking about. Like that's one of the I ams. I am courageous. I am bold. One of mine is I am an influencer. I mean, these are all the I am statements that we say on a regular basis to continue to remind ourselves and speak into ourselves who we are as we continue to do that for others. Lead even when it's uncomfortable, unpopular, or unclear. Just continue to lead with strength and boldness. Carrie?
Yeah, that's really good too. And here's the thing, I will often remind people it takes 10 seconds, 20 seconds at the most of courage to maybe impact generations to come. So often, people get timid or they go, I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything at all. Here's how I view every interaction with anybody. But, just in starting a conversation, be a noticer and then pull that courage from within because you may or may not ever see that person again. But what if? What if that was the next Danny and Diane McDaniel standing in front of you and you chose to keep your mouth shut and not say anything? See, I'm always saying, where's the courage? Because the courage, here's what I know in my 26 years of being full time in this industry, I've never lacked courage. I will talk to anybody and everybody because what if? What if that's the person? What if, look at it from a different point of view, not what will they think of me? Look at it from this point of view. What if I hold the answer to the prayer they've been praying? What if this is their answered prayer and I don't share it with them? See, I've always learned to look at it from a different set of lenses of they need what I have. They don't know it yet because I haven't opened my mouth and shared it. So when we start to have that boldness and that courage to really look forward, look for any opportunity to impact a person's life, I'm telling you, it's absolutely amazing what happens. Because I've told my kids their whole life, everyone's a stranger until you say hello. Just know that. And behind that hello might be the greatest treasure of your life. You just never know, right? And so I always say operate with courage, operate with boldness, say what needs to be said when it needs to be said, and things will start to line up because that's the biggest thing is that too many times people are timid. Listen, the Lord did not give us a spirit of fear, but one of power, sound mind, courage, right? He says that. So when we operate in that, then it's going to be amazing because people, conversations open doors. Everything starts to change for you. And people ask all the time, well, how do these people get ahead? Look, they lead with courage. And courage is definitely something that helps you whenever, I mean, I think about my life wouldn't look the same if someone hadn't have followed me at a restaurant and just had 10 seconds of courage to literally look me in the eyes and say, I'm work from home, I'm earning this much, I'm paying off debt, and I can help you too. That's all she said. And I literally was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to call you. Right? Like it was 10 seconds of courage. And here we are today. And I can't imagine because I think about it being generations of lives that have been changed. Not just my life, not just my family's life, but my family's life has been changed for generations for sure. So the world needs us to operate with courage at all times.
So good. Yes. Thank you. Okay. And then empowerment. So, share the stage. This is not all about you. This is about you pulling others up. That's what leadership is. So share the stage, share the strength, influence multiples when it influences multiples when you invite in others. So important that we continue to remember that it's not always about me, myself, and I. That's why, even like today when Danny wasn't on, I was like, hey, Carrie, I want you to do this with me because I love to share the stage with other leaders. It's one of my favorite things to do. I don't love to be just the only voice. I love to share the stage and share the strength. And I think it's also great because of the simple fact that it puts different personalities, different trains of thoughts also together. So, make sure that you're doing that. But I will say this, if there's something that, even going off of what Carrie just said, it's the key to making sure that we are listening more than we're talking because it's sometimes we think that if we're talking, we're being stronger, we look more like a leader. But I will tell you, the less you talk, the more you appear as a leader because when you talk, it's what you say that matters. And so, pay attention. Am I always talking? Am I always the one that needs to be heard? Because this is not a form of leadership. It can actually push people away, like, oh my gosh, there they go again, instead of, being genuinely interested in what others have to say. Because when you take time to listen to somebody else, then it's much easier to find out where they are so you can empower them better, where you can speak the words that are necessary in that moment to move them forward and to help them get through, their next level of leadership. But if we're just always speaking at them, if we feel like we always got something we got to say, instead of really taking time to listen, I always say, well, y'all have probably heard it too. It's not that I always say, it's something I heard and I've, referred to it quite often is we have two ears and one mouth, so listen twice as much as we talk. So that's something that's a great key to remember is we want to make sure that we are being a great listener. And then when you talk, make it matter. Let your words speak with strength, boldness, and confidence. And it's like you're speaking into them, not just talking to them. And that's what empowerment is all about. Carrie?
Well, you're so right because people they have a need to be heard. And so when we really start asking, I always say what you get in life really goes back to the quality of the questions you ask. Because people will say, how do you get connected to people? Well, ask questions. People love to share what they love, right? And so if you're talking to people about things that matter to them, then naturally then there's a connection when, like she said, your words don't have to be many, but when they're spoken, they're powerful, right? Because you can literally tie things to what lifts them, encourages them, but relates to them. versus just throwing a whole bunch of stuff at people versus really understanding what it is. And so I love that because the more we do learn to empower people, and listen, guys, I was empowered. There's people that are on this call. I know they were like, "Nope, you're just going to keep doing the Zooms, or you're going to keep doing the meeting, or you're going to keep doing this." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. We're going to do it together now." Right? And that's what we love. We love to do it for you, but then we love to do it with you, and then we love to watch you do it, and then we love to see you lead. That's really the thing is it shouldn't always be just a few because once again, we're here to empower other leaders to rise up. I mean, I know Danny says it all the time, like I can't wait till I never have to do a Zoom, right? But the reality is we're going to do what we have to do, but we want to encourage other people to step into their roles as leaders and then help. And so whenever you're doing that, and you're doing it right with encouragement, then, if something needs to be corrected, it doesn't shut people down. You can say, hey, let's make a couple of adjustments now because you're coming to a place of empowerment versus a place of condemning or criticizing. And so our leadership truly matters when we empower people to do things that we're elevating them to the next level. And we do this whether it's in the living room, whether it's one on one, whether it's on a phone call, right? We all have the opportunity to empower people each and every day with leading others. And so I hope that you really understand that it is where you not just share it all, but you're sharing the strengths and you're helping them get stronger and better and equipping because that's what we're all here to do. I hope and pray that we all want to grow and lead well because that's when everything in life changes, especially the people that have been called to you.
So
And
good. So good. And, let's go back to that, to the empowerment, because empowerment is launching, just like you said, we're going to do it with you. We're going to do it with you. We're going to watch you do it. So our whole focus of empowering others is so that they can launch, right? Because we leaders create leaders. That's what we do. That's what we're called to do. That's our desire. Just like Carrie said, Danny would say, if I don't have to ever do a Zoom again. But at the same time, if we come back with that coaching mentality, well, that's where influence comes in. Influence creates room for correction. And so, and that's what we do as a leader is we come in as a coach, somebody that is an influencer over them and, that they trust, because there's been relationship, there's been time, there's been empowerment, there's been all these other traits that have been poured in. And this allows us to come in and say, hey, I've got some things I want to share with you. Are you ready to be coached? Are you willing to be coached up? Because I don't love to use the word correction. Let me correct you. That's not a word I want to use. I like to use coached up. Let's make here's some things I would shift. Here's some suggestions I would make. So it's all about, choosing your words wisely. So very important. I look at somebody, I've being married to my husband for 34 years, there's something that I watch all the time, and it's him stand there and stare at somebody and just listen and nod his head. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And then they'll walk away and they'll go, man, that guy, he's so powerful. He knows his stuff. He's such a, he gets all these accolades as a result of saying very little. And so I want to just remind you, it's so helpful and so powerful if you understand this trait, not to always be the one talking. People admire your popularity, but they'll follow integrity, vision, and courage. Be the kind of leader that they'd want to follow. Be the kind of leader that you'd want to follow. Like, that's another thing. If you're like, well, no, I don't have anybody that is modeling this. Well, become that. I can't tell you over the years, Carrie, how many times have you heard it? Nobody's ever showed me that, or nobody's ever taught me that, or nobody's modeling that. Well, like, or nobody's ever done that for me. That's really what I should go with it. Nobody's ever done that for me. It's like, well, be that for your people. Like, that's what you've got to do is make sure that you make those shifts and decide as a leader. So